Hi, welcome to the 10-Minute Parent. My name is Pastor Don Boldt, and I'll be your teacher for the next 5 to 10 minutes as we take a look at what the Bible teaches us about how to raise our children for Him. And I want to talk about something that's just very, very, very important, and it's receiving your children. And in fact, I would go so far as to say that if you don't do this well, the likelihood that you'll be successful at raising your child for the Lord is fairly small, okay? And it's something that begins very early in the process. And if you find yourself that, well, hey, I have been living in violation of this, you need to repent. You may need to ask your child's forgiveness, particularly if you feel that they've been aware of it. But we're going to talk about receiving people, all right? So first place I'm going to take you is over into Philemon. And this is Paul writing to a friend named Philemon. Philemon, depending on where you come from. Anyways, and he's writing to him regarding a slave, a servant of Philemon's by the name of Onesimus. And what it was, Onesimus had run away from his master. Paul had met him along the way. And and so Onesimus had stayed and served Paul for a long time, and so now the time had come. Onesimus was wanting to go back to his master and kind of set things right. And so Paul sends this letter with Onesimus. And in the letter, Paul says something to Philemon, because basically he says, Philemon, you owe me a lot. Basically what he's saying to him. And so he says, and so I'm asking you to do something for me. And here's what he asks him to do. He says, if then you regard me a partner, accept Onesimus as you would me. Okay, accept or receive him as a brother now, he says. He who once was your servant, accept him as a brother. You regard me as a brother, regard him as a brother. Receive him the way you would have received me. All right, and so I want to talk about the importance of this whole thing about receiving. We're going to get some little definitions going here in a minute, but let's take a look over in Romans chapter 14, and it just starts off very simply. This says, now accept, okay, or receive the one who is weak in faith, but not for the purpose of passing judgment on his opinions. Okay, Romans 15. Okay, let's see here. Wherefore, accept one another, just as Christ also accepted us to the glory of God. All right. So what's the important thing here? All right, we are to accept. We are to receive one another, and this most certainly applies to our children. There are stories in the Bible about people who had difficulty receiving the children that were given to them. There are stories of people who really did a good job of that. Mary, she pondered these things in her heart. She received, Jesus as her child, and you can see her interacting with him throughout life as a son. You see the mother of Moses, and just that whole issue of, basically, even though there's this command to kill the children, particularly the male of the family amongst the Jews, she figures out a way to become her son's nurse. She accepts the responsibility. She accepts this child as hers and doesn't want to give that up. Receiving. Opposite of receiving, rejecting. Now you might say, well, I've never rejected anybody. Well, rejecting behavior, rejecting attitudes in our hearts. I don't like this responsibility and those kinds of things. We've all been through those things. Responsibility, we tend to struggle with it. All right, but receiving it. All right. When you found out you're having a baby, what was your response? Because at that point you started either receiving or rejecting. Oh, this is a bad time. Oh, I don't really want this baby. All right, well, that's something that you have to go to war with, because if you're going to be effective, if you're going to be successful, understand that what God is asking you to do is to do with your child what He did with you. All right, I'm going to guess that some of us were inconvenienced. I'm going to guess that some of us were a trial. I can certainly speak for myself as a child and understand that for God to receive me, there was a lot He had to forgive, overlook. In fact, He had to give to me things that He'd already given to me. He had to give them to me again because I had lost them, but nonetheless, He kept receiving me. He kept calling me to Himself. There's a whole group of words in the New Testament that begin with the word para, and that word para means to come alongside. And when we receive somebody, we find ourselves coming alongside them, spending time with them, investing ourselves in welcoming them to us. In this relationship that builds when we receive somebody. Okay, all of us know the pain of rejection. Understand, it is very, very hard to receive from a leader that you believe has rejected you. All right, so as parents, You may have a child who just isn't like you at all. All right, they're difficult. I don't understand them. I don't know. I can't get through to them. But you don't want to cross the line of letting that go over into then rejecting and pushing them away because I don't know how to deal with them. Sometimes that comes with age. I've had a lot of parents tell me, man, my children were so easy. I really enjoyed them until they were about 10 or 12 years old. Then they got all complicated. I don't know how to deal with them, and I just want them to go away. Wow, okay, well, you're losing your place of leadership at the point where that's where you're at. And I would encourage you that, there are people in your life who can help you with this as far as understanding what you're dealing with those children. And I would encourage you with this, go back and take a look at the videos on control and influence. It'll help you to understand that thing that happens with age. Because your children, as they grow older, gain a little thing called insight. The book of Proverbs deals with it, where they are able to think abstractly. And that does make them a little bit more intricate, a little more intriguing, and difficult sometimes to deal with, but it's something we just need to learn, and our leadership needs to mature. We need to mature to know how to be able to live with and continue to lead and encourage and grow those children, and to continue to call them to ourselves. And so, receive your children, okay? Receive them, accept them, call them to yourself. I remember the words of one really wise parent, Ruth Dare, wonderful, wonderful woman of God. And I remember one of the things she shared with me, and this is kind of a parting thought here, was she said that when your children come to you and they're real tiny and they just want to babble and you don't understand them and everything, she says, I always sit them on my lap and give them all of my attention, like what they're saying is the most important thing that I'm going to say today. And then she turned to me and she said, because by the time you understand them, they'll have already decided whether you think what they're saying is important enough to listen to. And so receive your children. Take a look and start to maybe build into your life behaviors and words that express your willingness to receive them as your own. And with that, I'm going to say, God bless you. Thank you so much. We enjoy producing these for the benefit of parents, and so thank you for coming and listening to the 10-Minute Parent. We'll see you again next time.